Okay, picture this. April 2023, Los Angeles. It's just a completely normal night at a Lakers playoff game. But then, the cameras pan across the courtside seats, and they lock onto this one very familiar face.
And this wasn't just any face. This was someone who hadn't been seen in public for 18 long months. And just like that, suddenly, a basketball game wasn't just a basketball game anymore. It was a global news event.
Which, of course, leads us to the big question here. Why? Why on earth did one man just enjoying a basketball game cause such a massive stir all around the world? What's the big deal?
Well, because that man was Jack Nicholson. And to really get why everyone freaked out, you have to understand something crucial. He didn't just star in movies, he fundamentally changed what movies could be. So yeah, let's get into it.
To really understand Jack, our story doesn't begin on some glamorous film set. Nope, it starts with a family secret, one that was hiding in plain sight and pretty much shaped the man he was destined to become. So this timeline kind of lays out the basics. He's born in 1937, and as a teenager, he heads out to California to chase the acting dream, living with his older sister, June. Everything seems pretty normal until 1974. By then, he's at the absolute peak of his fame, and a reporter from Time magazine starts digging around and uncovers a secret that turns his entire life completely on its head. It turns out the woman he'd known his whole life as his sister, June, was actually his biological mother, and the woman he called Mom, Ethel, was his grandmother. See, June was only 17 when he was born, so her parents raised Jack as their own son to protect her from the stigma of being a young, unwed mother back then. It's wild. But here's where it gets really interesting, his reaction. I mean, think about it. You're 37 years old when you find this out, and by that point, both your mother and grandmother have already passed away. You'd expect trauma, right? A total meltdown. Nope. He said he felt grateful. And that calm, totally unconventional response to a life-altering bombshell, that's our first real clue into the unique kind of personality that was about to redefine the Hollywood leading man. You know, back in high school, he was voted class clown. And he brought that same rebellious, anti-authority spirit with him to the screen. And his timing? It was absolutely perfect. He arrived just as the old, rigid Hollywood studio system was starting to crumble. This whole new era was called New Hollywood, and it was a total game changer. All of a sudden, directors and actors had the creative control to tell stories about flawed, messy, complicated people, characters that didn't fit into that classic, heroic mold. And nobody embodied that shift more than Jack Nicholson. And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you've got your classic Hollywood star, always strong, always moral, basically a Boy Scout who upholds the system. Then, you've got the Nicholson anti-hero, alienated, flawed, a charismatic rebel who fights the system. He wasn't safe or predictable. He was dangerous, and audiences, they couldn't get enough of it. This new persona was really forged in two iconic films. His Oscar-nominated breakout in Easy Rider was just the start. But then, the very next year, he starred in 5 Easy Pieces as Bobby Dupea, a character that didn't just bend the leading man rulebook, he basically tore it up and set it on fire. And I think this review from The Guardian just captures it perfectly. A radioactive screen presence. I mean, how good is that? He was so magnetic because of his flaws, the anger, the insolence, and that deep down sadness. He somehow made being an outsider feel electric. And with that, the fuse was lit. Nicholson spent the next 2 decades going on an absolute tear, transforming from a hero of the counterculture to the undisputed king of Hollywood. The numbers really do speak for themselves. 12 Oscar nominations. That is more than any other male actor in history. This wasn't a flash in the pan. This was decades of sustained, unparalleled excellence. And he didn't just get nominated. He won 3 Oscars for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Terms of Endearment, and As Good as It Gets. That ties him for the most wins ever by a male actor, putting him in a very, very exclusive club. But his impact went way beyond awards. His roles created these moments, these lines, that became part of our shared language. I bet you know the lines even if you've never actually seen the movies.
Lines just like this one from The Shining. It's a terrifying, totally unhinged moment of pure cinematic mania. It looks like pure chaos on screen, but the reality of how it was made was very, very different. And this is what's so fascinating. On a set where the director, Stanley Kubrick, was famously pushing actress Shelley Duvall to her breaking point, Nicholson was her supportive rock. Behind all that on-screen chaos, he was a disciplined professional. He studied horror techniques from the greats like Boris Karloff. He would even sleep in his car on the way to the set just to maintain his character's agitated state. So the mania we see on screen, that wasn't chaos. That was absolute control.
And that controlled power is on full display right here. This explosive monologue from A Few Good Men got him another Oscar nomination. It's pure, 100 proof Nicholson, charismatic, intimidating, and completely, utterly unforgettable.
Which brings us full circle, right back to that basketball game. After decades at the very top, Nicholson did something few stars of his magnitude ever do. He just stepped away. So let's look at this slow fade from the spotlight. His last film was way back in 2010. Then, after a Lakers game in October 2021, he just vanished from public life for a year and a half. So when he reappeared in April 2023, of course it felt like this monumental event. And that's the point. Now, every appearance, whether it's in the past or in the future, like that surprise spot at SNL's 50th, becomes a major news story. So here's the crucial takeaway. Jack Nicholson is such an icon. His legend is so baked into our culture that his absence doesn't make us forget him. It actually does the opposite. It makes his presence even more powerful. In the end, maybe that's the real answer. The critic David Thompson wrote that we value Nicholson because he helps us see ourselves. Through his rebels, his villains, and his unconventional heroes, he held up a mirror to the flawed, complicated, and defiant parts of us all. And that's a power that doesn't fade, not even in silence.